You are running with the Devils, and we are back after a week off. Our schedules didn't really permit a show last week, unfortunately. Didn't it's probably for the best. We didn't really have a whole lot of good stuff to talk about, but we love talking ASU football with you, and we're back this week talking. Granted another loss, but I think I hate the term moral victory, Big John, but if you had to say that's what that's probably what we can take from this week. And we're here talking with you, running with the Devils. I'm RyKno Ryan Knowles. Here with me as always, Big John Caldwell. And
doing,
Big John, what we like to say here on RWD, you give us 30 minutes, we give you the world of Arizona State football. Coming to you a little late this week.
Ryan's hung up here. Ryan's doing the max headroom. You were frozen. You were frozen there.
We're looking forward to it. We can't wait. Am I good now?
You go. Go.
Okay. So we're talking, we're talking ASU football, and this is our favorite time of year. We're starting to get into the conference season, and got to start with. We'll touch on it. Won't really talk about it too much tonight, but the ASU's loss to Fresno State 2 weeks ago. ASU shut out at home for the first time since the 80s, 29-0 to the Fresno State Bulldogs. And Big John, that was a tough one to take. Certainly tough to see, ASU suffering through a lot of injuries, especially at the quarterback position.
Right.
But they did rebound this week. They did over the weekend, and definitely gave the number 5 ranked USC Trojans all they could handle in Tempe. Played a much better, much cleaner game, I think, than we all expected, and ultimately fell 42-28. But definitely looked a lot better than they did the week prior.
Yeah, the kids came out, smashed them in the mouth, and they did not give up the fight. They, the fact that they were within 6 midway through the fourth quarter, I think everybody could see this team was rising to the occasion, and to a man, they were inspired by certain players. Players like Scadaboo just balling out.
Yeah.
And I think the sellout environment, the fact that people stayed around to the fourth quarter and were loud, those things all contributed. So, just when you think that after a bad loss to a very good Fresno State team, I might add, who's worthy.
Only they're 29 points better than us, but
yeah,
we won't pull that thread.
But we shot ourselves in the foot all over the place. But
yes, 8 turnovers. That was ugly. Yes.
Nobody wins a game when you're with 8 turnovers, and the fact that, in fact, I'll just go back to Fresno State for a second. The fact that you gave up 5 field goals, 15 points. Whenever you give up more field goals than you do touchdowns, you usually should win. So that was a really odd game, right? If you think
on paper, you would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that we only gave up 2 touchdowns in that game gave me a little, like, it told me the defense is balling out. You just can't have 8 turnovers.
It's tough to take positives out of a 29-0 home defeat. But yeah, if you had to take one positive out of it, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah,
but the kids kept fighting, even though the offense, has struggled. It seemed like, they went 6 quarters without a touchdown there, or any points. They went 6 quarters without any points, and then right after that fumble, Cameron Scadaboo runs 15 yards for a touchdown, breaks that breaks that streak and gets us back on the scoreboard. We were worried. Some people were worried ASU wouldn't even score in this game. They put up 28 points against the number 5 team in the nation.
Well,
yeah, they got outclassed at times, going up against the defending Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who's expected to compete for it again this year. He certainly, looked like the Heisman Trophy winner that he is, and expected to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft this spring.
Mm-hmm.
But ASU still, held their heads up high. They played with pride. They did so for all 4 quarters. So hey, hats off to them. Forks up, gentlemen. Keep that going, and it's gonna that fight and that grit's gonna turn into some wins before you know it.
Yeah. And in fact, I think if we go up and get a W at Cal, which is very doable, and I know we're 12 point underdogs. You win that game, you come back, you're going to have another sold out stadium for Colorado, and it's a great setup for what could be a very interesting mid part of the season here. But yeah, but you nailed it here with Coach Dillingham's play calling.
Yeah, this was
Really,
the first game of the year, against USC that he had actually called the plays. Before
that's
that, it had been offensive coordinator Bo Baldwin. Kenny Dillingham, the week before, USC announced that he was going to be taking over play calling,
mhm.
and he went deep into the playbook with some of these plays. I mean, having Scattaboo line up in the what do they call it? The wild scat.
Yeah, well,
I keep calling it the Sparky because that's what it was when Kalen Balaj would run it.
right.
But yeah, the wild scat is what they
Well,
kind of
it's
take
not a full, yeah, it's not a full shotgun. He's really more like in the pistol.
in a
He's very
pistol.
close.
True.
Yeah, he's more in the pistol position. So it's quick, and there's no answer. I mean,
Yeah,
his
the teams have struggled to stop it this year, especially when he broke out that arm and started throwing the ball downfield, especially out of a punt formation. He punts the ball earlier. Then on 4th and long, he throws the ball to Elijah Badger for a 20-yard gain on a
yeah,
play that was completely
improvised,
improvised. It was
right?
not planned. They
No,
improvised that on the
th-
fly. So
those two
that was very impressive.
they talked about it just before at the huddle or at the as the play was calling it. So good for them, man. I mean, and you
Yeah.
know what? I heard the fact that a lot of teams you might be criticized for improvising like that. Kenny's not going to Kenny wants you to go out and play your game and you do you.
Only if it doesn't
So
work. I think you're criticized. You take criticism if that doesn't work, but when
yeah,
it works, yeah,
yeah,
you look like a genius.
yeah. You know, I think that's cool
But yeah, with
that
the struggles that they've had at the quarterback position, Drew Pine, he had his moments. He looked decent at times. He looked a lot better than he did against Fresno State. I'll say that, which isn't saying much. But
no,
he did struggle. He did suffer some injuries though, and he'll be out this week. He will not be available against Cal.
yeah,
It'll be
more
Trent Bourget
muscle
taking over,
injuries.
and we'll talk about him in a minute. But the fact that with despite some of the injuries that they've had up front in the offensive line, and with you got DeCarlos Brooks out, you're
Hmm.
dealing with some injuries. You're on your 3rd quarterback of the year now. It's the fact they were able to generate the kind of offense that they were, I think is very impressive. And
I
Cam,
thought
we'll talk about him in a minute as well, but he definitely put I think not just not just the conference but the country on notice that he's not going to be stopped no
there's
matter
a lot of guys
none of it.
like him that have
He's got the heart of a guy twice his size.
that's it.
He
And
just he just
you know
balled out against the Trojans.
you've
Plain and
been
simple.
hearing me all the way through spring ball and all the way through practice
Yeah,
camp that he
if you watch his highlights when he was at Sacramento State, I mean, there's a reason he was the Big Sky player of the year, offensive player of the year.
and you know he
And
could
that
play.
doesn't sound like much, but it matters. And he had a terrific game. I mean, 20 carries for 111 yards and a rushing touchdown, 4 receptions for 79 yards and a receiving touchdown. One of the best I've ever seen, by the way, dodging those 2 tackles.
Two
Unbelievable
really
down
good
the
DBs
sideline.
came across
Yeah.
and went and made diving tackles at his ankle, one at his knees and one at his ankles. He still got through it.
I know. And he also completed 2 balls for 42 yards and he punted, I
Yep.
believe, for 53 yards inside
Biggest
the
punt of the
20.
night. Better than our punters
Little Swiss Army knife action from Cam Scatterbo, which was really
I
great to see. And
I've been used.
this is the creativity that we were hoping to see under Kenny Dillingham, and just utilizing everything in his bag of tricks to try and generate some offense, generate some excitement in his team. And I think that he, even in a loss, he's managed to do that now. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But as ASU goes on the road for the first time this season, going up to Berkeley to face Cal at Strawberry Canyon. And we do this after a defeat here on RWD. What we learned, presented by Valley Athletic Booster Club. Support local athletics and check out valleyathleticboosterclub.com. And I mentioned it. Kenny Dillingham opening up the playbook, the offense showing life for the first time in a couple weeks, to be honest, basically since the first half against Oklahoma State, and really showing that what they're capable of with with some guys out even though no DeCarlos Brooks, they were having to rely on the freshman Kyson Brown for some big snaps.
I thought he looked good.
Putting the ball in Cam Scattaboo's hands for whatever, and he definitely made Kenny Dillingham look good. with and Drew Pine, with what he was able to do with the ball in his hands. And that's my other point. What we learned, Cam Scannaboo is him. I mean, they really struggled to run the ball going into this game. They really hadn't run the ball with much success all year. And Cam Scannaboo goes for over 100 yards on 20 carries, and that's very impressive. I think you got to continue to feed him. He is him. Continue to feed the ball, put the ball in his hands as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because he's certainly capable. He showed he's capable of making big plays every time he touches it.
Yeah, Bo Baldwin helped bring him here. He knew of him for being in the same conference at Eastern Washington. He knew he was ready. So, hats off for getting him down here. But he reminds me of that kind of kid that comes along every now and then that's just, he just has a great will. And he comes from, nobody expected him to do well, but he knew he was ready. And he's taken every advantage of his opportunity. So you got to love.
Some of the beat reporters even had him kind of buried on the depth chart.
Yeah,
too.
I know.
It's a little unusual.
Well, I had an ongoing thing with Hode Rubino when he kept saying that Tevin White was the man. I kept saying, no. Watch what he does when he gets to the linebacker level. He has an east-west thing that he didn't show it in the beginning of spring ball, but he's developed it. He's got a little wiggle. He's got a little shimmy shake, So yeah,
I mean, clearly show that he can dodge tackles. He can do a lot of different things very well. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to continue to get the ball in his hands and just let him work, because he's making everybody look good right now.
I'm going to tell you a little Scatterboo story after the game. So we come down kind of late sometimes because I'm slow getting out of the stadium with my knee. And so we walk right through where the families and players are. So normally the kids are just getting out of the shower, or they're, and they're all cleaned up. Scatterboo was down. He came right off the field, right to the family in his full pads, soaking
Nice.
wet, and he was just taking every opportunity, every moment he could to relish this thing with his family. Hadn't gone to the locker room, he hadn't changed. He was still out there in full pads, and we gave each other big hugs, and I was just telling him, you got to stay hungry. You can't take this one for granted. You cannot think you've arrived. Don't read your own clippings, I said.
Yeah.
And yes, sir, Miss Caldwell. Yes, sir. But what a great kid.
Well, hey, humble and hungry. That's the mantra. That's what it takes to be successful.
And you got to say, this is your slogan, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a Scatterboo.
Yeah.
Scatterboo. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Got to watch Cameron. You watch Cameron slide off the back of a dinosaur. So and what did you learn this week, Big John?
Again, our O-line is still having issues, and we're getting a little bit better in places. I mean, our run block is pretty good. I mean, it was a
lot better against USC. I didn't think we were going to be able to run at all against the Trojans. We had a lot of success.
Pass block needs work.
Yes.
And so as a result, I think we have to design our offense around the fact that we're not going to give our QB a lot of time. I mean, Drew Pine, God bless him. When you take more than 3.5 seconds, they're going to get you.
With this O-line, absolutely. I mean, hey, this ain't Notre Dame anymore, man. You got to get the ball out a lot quicker than you have. And I mean, yeah, he did make some nice throws this week. I'll get my hat off to him. He played tough. He played, even though he was getting hit a lot, and he had like 3 different injuries, I think, from this game.
They're all soft tissue muscle injuries. So
there you go.
That means he's getting drilled.
Yeah. So. And again, he will not be available against Cal.
Right.
But yeah, you're dealing with some injuries on the offensive line. Both your starting tackles are out. Emmett Boley's out for the year. Isaiah Glass, I thought he might be back by this point. I didn't think his injury was that serious, but it's kind of lingered on us. I think Bram Walden has done okay so far. Max Hannacord, the junior college transfer, who's on the right side right now. He's struggled at times. Other times he's looked halfway decent. His run blocking is pretty good for a tackle. But, I mean, you're out there to pass block, and his pass blocking is kind of taking a hit. And then, I knew that the offensive line would kind of take a hit when Ben Coleman, the Cal transfer, didn't, he got hurt during spring ball. I thought, there's a chance he still could come back this year.
Right.
And then Cade Briggs, who was supposed to be a depth guy on the inside,
He went out.
He's just getting back. He was hurt for the beginning of the year.
Well, and he I think, didn't he play? And
Yeah,
they took
he
him off.
played. Yeah, he just got back. He's still trying to get into
Right,
the swing.
but they took him off and put him in the tent. I remember him walking off the field with the trainers.
Yeah, I would not
And they just,
surprised. Yeah,
yeah.
he's hurt again. So, I mean, they've had some struggles on that offensive line. Hopefully, it'll kind of solidify at some point as this unit starts to play together more.
Mhm.
But we'll hopefully see. They definitely can't give up as many sacks as they did against USC and expect to win.
So my question to you is I mean, I know we played Scatteroo to keep it mixed up, keep it different, but I also look at it like, Pine's he's not as physical a guy. And he also can't run. Whereas, so my question is, does Scatteroo continue to keep getting the calls or the trickeration, letting him pass and things?
I think so. I think he's shown the versatility that he can handle that. I
Right.
mean, he's a dual threat as far as running and catching. So, and I mean, I wouldn't put the ball in his hands to throw it too much. But
No,
but the fact that you have that available to you is an extra wrinkle that teams have to prepare for.
Oh, they're going to have to play you honest, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but I've used the term fan favorite since spring ball. I said first time I laid eyes on this kid, first practice, that he's going to be a fan favorite, and I'm glad that's catching on now.
And I wasn't able to make it. I wasn't able to make it to the game, but I watched that. I watched that play on TV, and tell me the stadium didn't just explode when
he erupted, absolutely erupted. That's
went
the
down
kind
the
of
sideline for the score.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that'll be, that's a Rudy, kind of moment.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
So
I can draw all kinds of comparisons. I mean, he kind of he's got the same number. It kind of reminds me of Demario Richard a little bit. Demario was good at dodging those tackles and never going down the first time, falling forward for extra yards, things like that. He had a lot of heart for a guy, who was as small as he was. Another guy that comes to mind is, because I grew up a Cardinals fan. My favorite player growing up was Larry Centers,
mhm.
the 5'10" fullback who just, that guy was all heart. He played a decade in the NFL, went to the Pro Bowl, seemed like almost every year. And, he was very undersized for his position. So,
Sure.
That's, kind of he reminds me a lot of Scatteroo from his heart, never going down the first time, being able to stay on his feet, dodging tacklers the way he did. Again, not the fastest guy in the world, but just, outworked and out hustled and had more heart than the guy across from him.
Right.
So
folks,
and then the Dillingham process here, bamboo. Explain that.
If you didn't hear the press conference, the Monday after the loss to Fresno State, the Bulldogs, Kenny just say, look, and this is something he came up with at Fresno State. It's at Florida State. This is an old axiom. It's called bamboo, and that is, you must respect the process. You must stick to the process. And he says, you take the bamboo plant, and remember, if you water that thing like crazy for about 5, 6, 7, at year 7, suddenly it goes from this big to it grows 90 feet. And
it grows quickly at weird times. Yeah.
But you have to stay with it, and you have to stay
Sure.
you have to stay honest to the process. And I get it. Every coach who Kenny's played against has basically respected the fact that he's building something that he had, and if you stick to the process. I mean, Lincoln Riley was very complimentary of the process. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he can get as far as if he gets his players and you stick to this process, the good things are going to happen. So,
and I mean, any team, when you got a 1-3 team or 1-2 team that comes in and gives you all you can handle, as a number 5 team in the nation, and you only, you win by 2 touchdowns when you're favored by 32.5, I think was the line.
It went for 34.
Yeah, you've got to give
34.
kudos to the guys on the opposition, because they did something right. And I'll even go one step further. I think maybe not. Lincoln Riley didn't maybe to get out coached, but he definitely got out schemed by Kenny.
Right.
That was the reason for their success. I mean, Cam Scatteroo using him in a lot of different ways that USC hadn't really seen before. those shock plays that ASU used. Those were huge. Those were very big keys to the success. But at the same time, you got to plan that out. I mean, you've got to game all of this out, and Dilly did that, and Lincoln Riley not so much. So
Well,
maybe against a better with a better team, a few more highly rated recruits than what USC has. USC relied heavily on their talent. I mean,
yes.
all those 5-star kids that they have. ASU just basically got outclassed in the end.
It could well have been too that this was a classic trap game for them. But the way I look at it, if USC does not clean up, does not clean up its what was going on out there, the poor play, the sloppy play, they're not going to go. They'll make it to the playoffs, but they're not going to go very far. And they're certainly not going to win a national championship playing like that.
I don't even know if they could beat Washington or Utah.
Yeah, at this point,
playing like they did on Saturday.
So there it is. There's the bamboo. This is going on. This is going on.
Yes,
this is going on Coach Dillingham's desk in a couple weeks.
Nice.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
That's what we learned this week. Presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. To support local athletics, check out Valley Athletic Booster Club.
ASU's only outside booster club, folks. If you want to get involved, here's your club. I mean, I know a lot of you might be in the Sun Devil Club, but this is a club that actually raises a lot of money, pays for a lot of scholarship. Then this year we're very involved in the rebuilding of Farrington Stadium, and now we're taking on really helping the baseball team by state-of-the-art pitching machines that all the top 5 teams own that can throw every kind of pitch. So we're really excited about raising funds for that specific need. They're not cheap, let me tell you. So let's move on. This was a question.
And this is kind of our bridge segment here that we do every week. Kind of recapping the past week's game. How does it impact the rest of the season going forward? And the big question I have for you, John, after seeing the offense's performance this past Saturday, why did it take so long for CKD to take over play calling? I mean, I know he's got trust Bo Baldwin. Bo Baldwin's got a good track record, but I mean, that offense was just looking way too sluggish, way too vanilla, just no creativity whatsoever, way too straightforward.
Well, there was communication problems. We were having problems getting plays in on things like fourth down. We couldn't execute on fourth downs. We couldn't. There's just so many issues. So I think he had to jump in. He had to do his thing and spend more time, because I think he looks at it like, if I have one side of the ball I got to work on, I need to work on the offense right now. And he's just going to
get his baby. That's what he's known for. It's what his mom. That's how he got this job, was being an OC that could be creative and put points on the board, and put players in the best position to be successful. So that's what he's got. That's what he's got to do at this point.
What I liked is the fact that they got Bo up in the box, and he's seeing things now, and they're talking to each other about what they're seeing for alignment. So that's normally where Kenny has been in the last several years of his career
as the OC.
Yeah. But
obviously, as the head coach, he's got to be on the field.
But I see this as a guy who's taking responsibility and being accountable. We all talk about accountability. This is it. You're not winning. You're not putting points on the board. You got skunked against Fresno State, a team that you were expected to win. So this is a guy who's taking account, is being accountable, and he's going to try to do everything he can to get his team to get off the schneid and go score some points and maybe win. And so good for him. I mean, I like people who are accountable and who own up and are not going to make excuses and hide behind, well, we'll get better at play calling. No, he's going to step in and do everything he can to fix this thing.
Yeah, so he took over play calling. That was the success, and kind of opening up the playbook a little bit and using Cam Scatterbo in different ways, getting the ball to Elijah Badger, I know he tried to protect Drew Pine as much as possible, but again, you and I kind of both in agreement that Drew Pine is not the guy for this team going forward at quarterback. Yeah. He's not durable. He doesn't get the ball out fast enough. I don't think he processes information quite as fast as we would like, especially with this kind of patchwork offensive line right now. You kind of I think you got to take the ball out of his hands a little bit. Even
Yeah.
when he comes back, we'll see how Trenton Bourget plays in the next couple weeks. But I think Drew Pine's not really the guy for
And
this
everybody
team.
wants
Coming in
loves
from Notre Dame, he was kind of expected to be,
right.
even just a stopgap while Jaden Rashada develops. And he's, I have my doubts that he can be at least at this program with the way things are right now, that he can do anything significant at this point.
Well, I think he'll be, let's hope Trenton stays healthy. By the way, Trenton's never had a major an ankle. He's never rolled an ankle in his life. So when this happened, he was a little wigged out, like how he had no baseline for how long it was going to take to get right.
It was basically the second play of the game.
Yeah. And if you look at the stills that I've seen, what he did was that was a bad one. He got himself really crossed up. I don't know why or how it happened, but he did.
I think I just didn't think he expected to see a guy in his face.
There was a guy right in his face when he did that. Yeah.
And that kind of I think that just kind of threw off his rhythm and just
did
kind of spiked himself, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it happens. I played it. It happens sometimes. Things happen you don't expect, and you just kind of react. You never know how you're going to react.
Well, when you talk about reacting, I'm talking about how when you have a bad rollover, there's such a thing as once you've had one, you start learning. Your body starts adapting. You can. I had lots and lots of sprained ankles playing volleyball, rolling that ankle over, but.
Me too, playing basketball. I know.
But it's weird how you can over time you know how to walk it off. You know how much you can push it to get better and get back into
as long as it doesn't stiffen up on you.
Right.
Yeah. Until it stiffens up on you like the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of walk it off and play on it, and you tape it and play for the time being. But it's difficult. You got to ice it down.
Fortunately, the foot he injured was the same. No, that was the left foot. Yeah, so it was the right foot he had the screw in.
Right, from last year.
Last year, but fortunately, our trainers know how his feet react. So that was a good thing. Yeah. So your next question, springboard.
Can the offense use this performance as a springboard for the rest of the season? Can they build on this to continue to have success on offense?
If you want in a short answer, of course. And short answers, of course, because.
But we don't do short answers here. That makes for a lousy conversation, Big John.
I know. Well, I love. I get if the growth between week 2 and week 3, you always kind of expect the growth in week 2. This was growth in week 3, and that's fine.
Week 4 technically.
Week 4 technically, yes. Yeah, we're. Yeah, I mean, you keep throwing trickeration? Why not? I'd love to be known as the team that comes up. The next Idaho State, Boise State rather, that keeps throwing up innovative plays. Why not?
It makes us fun to watch, if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, it's engaging for our fans. You got to keep the fans in here longer than just Colorado. They play the Buffaloes. So yes, I hear it in the voice. In watching, they won't let me in practice right now. They're not letting anybody in practice, but the media for a little while. It's obvious these kids are not rolling over. They honestly feel, a whole bunch of them, I'd say probably the majority of them during that USC game felt they were going to win that game. That's cool.
They put themselves in a position to. I mean, at least they got within. They were within one score in the fourth quarter. That's right. That's progress, if nothing else, right. Against a number 5 team in the nation. So, yeah, I mean, you got confidence in your offense going forward that you can, continue to put points on the board, and you're not going to be facing, a USC with all the talent that they have week in and week out. So hopefully they'll be able to continue to, be creative, continue to move the ball down the field, and find ways to put it in the end zone like they did last week. And I think he's kind of wised up a little bit and started getting the ball in the hands of his playmakers a little bit.
Well, I love the fact that
they force-fed Scadaboo and they force-fed Badger. So, and Jalen Conyers, I think, had probably maybe his best game of the year.
And he was coming, and I have to tell you, his conditioning was poor. You could see it. Some of the close-ups that I saw up on the screen, he was gassed, and he'll fix that. But
they had that shovel pass to him. He was trying to follow his blockers to the left, but he had nothing but wide open space to the right. And you didn't quite see it. But as a tight end, he's not expected to have the field vision for something like that.
Yeah, you could tell his conditioning was not there.
Yeah, but that'll come with time. As he's he's healthy now. He's starting to get back in the swing of things. I think that's another thing that'll give a big boost to the offense is a healthy Jalen Conyers.
I fully expect. You saw the DB play of Cal. I think Conyers could have a big game.
Yeah, if you watch, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. But our recap, just put a bow on our recap here. This is something that I think we've all kind of been looking for. Especially with the way that the offense struggled against in the second half of Oklahoma State, and then getting shut out at home by Fresno State, which was completely unexpected. We were just looking for signs, looking for something to be hopeful about, for the rest of this season. And we're already through half of the home schedule, and it hasn't been pretty at times, Big John. But I think that just going out there and being competitive against a team like USC, putting up the pound points that they did, and giving them a run for their money for almost all 4 quarters, I think was something to hang your hat on, and something you can build on, and something that you can say, hey, we gave them all everything we had, and we earned their respect, and that's something. I mean, that's something that you can take away from this game, even though it's not going to show up on the scoreboard as a win. It's something that you can say, when that next team comes in, we're gonna put ourselves in a better position to win.
No, I think our kids got their heads. Every interview I've heard this week, the kids sound like they're pretty locked in, and they get it. That the very quarterback room, for instance, while we're incredibly beat up right now, they're all hugely supportive of one another. They are Sun Devils, and they want each other to succeed. There's no rivalry going on amongst anybody. They're on the same page. They're
teammates. They're teammates.
They are teammates.
They're supposed to be. Nobody's fighting over who's got the NIL deal. Nobody's whining about playing time. At least not anymore. Not with Will Schaefer transferring. But we won't pull that thread. But
no.
And it's just I think I like it. It's this. I think that Dillingham has created a better locker room culture. One of a brotherhood, and one that they can kind of latch onto and really hold on to as something that's just their own.
Well, I look at it like
that's a rare thing, especially in today's college football.
Kenny is actually very brutally honest, but it's such a good communication. It's not meant to beat people down. He builds you back up.
And that was the thing about Bruce Arians too. That's what the players loved about Bruce Arians, was that he was brutally honest. He was brutally honest, but he was brutally honest. And he even said this: when I'm brutally honest, I'm talking about your football. I'm not talking about you as a person. I'm talking about your football.
Right.
And when he's trying to coach these guys up, he's trying to he's keeping it real with them. And that's, I think, kids are smart. Kids see through the phonies. The guys who just go out there and give them lip service. He's keeping it real with them. He's telling them what they're he's telling them what they're doing right, telling them what they're doing wrong, trying to get them to fix their mistakes and their shortcomings. And I think that the kids can respect that. And I think that's why he's won over the locker room and has the kids playing as hard as they are for him right now.
Right.
So moving on to week 4 here. Technically week 5 against the Cal Golden Bears. To win the Bears this year, 2-2 on the season, wins over North Texas and Idaho State. A close loss to Auburn, which was in Berkeley, 14-10.
Right.
And then last week getting basically blown off the field against the Washington Huskies.
Right.
And Washington just looks like they're a machine right now. They look unstoppable. As good as like Oregon and Utah look in the Pac-12 right now, Washington's up there too. They're going to give somebody a run for their money at some point.
Oh yeah,
And you don't be surprised if you don't see them in the playoff this
the
year.
playoffs. You bet.
Really
Yep.
good with Michael Penix and company. And head coach Justin Wilcox, the defensive specialist, his 7th season in Berkeley, if you can believe it. It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Isn't that? Yeah, weird, huh?
Yeah, and then first
like
year
yesterday.
offensive coordinator Jake Spavital, the former Texas State head coach. He's a Cal guy. He was the OC there under Sonny Dykes in 2016. And then when Dykes was relieved of his duties before the end of the season, he was their interim coach for a while.
Right.
But he's been successful everywhere he's been. Really great track record. Coaching up guys at Tech. He was Johnny Manziel's coach at Texas A&M when Cliff Kingsbury went to Texas Tech, and then West Virginia for a couple of years. Then he was the head coach of Texas State. Got fired last year, and now he's back at Cal. And he's got that offense running really really well. I mean, when they're clicking, they're tough to stop. They're dealing with their own quarterback carousel right now. They got Ben Finley and Sam Jackson kind of splitting the reps. Jackson actually started the year against Idaho State, got hurt, and then North Texas. He started against North Texas,
right.
Got hurt, and then Ben Finley's come in and kind of taken over the job, even though Jackson's healthy again. I think we might see both of these guys, to be honest, at some point on Saturday, because neither one of them's really both of them have played well, but neither one of them have really separated themselves. And then Cal, just talking to their future, this is also their last year in the Pac-12. They're moving to the ACC with Stanford in 2024. That kind of came down late in the summer. But
racking up the few frequent flyer miles, man.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see them playing on the East Coast as much as they will in some of their sports.
I read something today that we know UCLA obviously kind of they were a team that they were underwater by almost $50 million.
Oh yeah,
and now it's turning out that Cal was underwater by way north of 30 million. Yeah. And so these teams had after COVID. I mean, COVID changed everything, right? Changed their ability to not only recruit but fundraise. And they
put people in the stands. I mean, they had to go through most of
that's right.
all of 2020, part of 2021 without anybody in the stand.
They haven't really returned. Their attendance has been dismal, and we'll show a picture of that in a minute from the last game. But no, good luck going to the ACC, boys. And not hanging in there with the rest of the pack.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, and the Cal Golden Bears have kind of struggled in recent years. I mean, I'll tell you, I think this was the last time ASU played them back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a Friday night game actually in Cal. When they were ranked like 15th in the nation at the time, and ASU upset them.
Right.
With Jaden Daniels, Nito Benjamin, and those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't. I mean, Chase Garbers and that team, they were pretty good, but they really relied more on their defense.
Yeah.
This Cal offense, kind of reminds me a little bit more of the Sonny Dykes Cal teams with their ability to put points on the board.
Right.
They're averaging 33 points a game right now. Those numbers are a little skewered though, because they did, they put up 58 on North Texas. They put 31 up on Idaho. Yeah, they put 32 up on Washington, but they only had.
It was garbage time.
Like 12, I think.
Yeah.
It was like 12 at the end of the third quarter.
It was garbage time, yeah.
And that was mostly against Washington's 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
So, but they've shown some ability this year. And, Ben Finley, their quarterback, the North Carolina State transfer, is a local kid out of Paradise Valley High School. 62% completion so far this year, 533 yards, 3 touchdowns. But those 4 interceptions, 3 of them came last week against Washington. Washington feasted on Ben Finley. And, I fully expect to see him again this week because he's just kind of been the more accurate passer. He's kind of given them the better chance to win at this point. But, and I'll talk about it during our keys to the game, but he doesn't handle the pass rush very well.
Is he the one who's just
he panics a little bit, throws some balls he probably shouldn't.
Right.
So,
even out of
I'll
bounds,
talk about that a little bit more later, but he's been turnover prone this year.
Right.
And then the other quarterback, Sam Jackson, the 5th, TCU transfer, 54% completion this year,
Not good.
426 yards, 4 touchdowns against 2 interceptions. He's more of a dual threat guy, 68 rushing yards to go along with a rushing touchdown this year. I still think we might see him at some point in this game, especially if Ben Finley struggles. I think after his performance last week, he'll probably be on a short leash against the Sun Devils. But they're big. A lot of their offense has actually been centered around their running game. And they've got a very good sophomore running back in Jaden Ott.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of took over after Byron Cardwell, the Oregon transfer, got hurt earlier in the year. He's having a very, very good year. 54 carries, 306 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground. Nice year for him so far. And his backup, Isaiah Ifanse, he's another Big Sky quarterback, Big Sky running back, I should say, out of Montana State. He's having a nice year as a complimentary back, 42 carries, 236 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's kind of more of the water bug scat back. He's a slightly better receiver out of the backfield. I mean, neither of these guys have really put up a ton of numbers as receivers. They don't throw the ball to the running back except out of necessity, I think. Through 4 games, only 11 receptions between the two top running backs. So not a lot of, they don't really throw the ball out of the backfield except out of necessity, no. I think. And then moving on to the receivers, these are the guys you really got to watch out for because they put up some nice games this year so far. Jeremiah Hunter's been their leading receiver so far, which has been a little bit of a surprise. You know, it was kind of expected to be Taj Davis, who was one of Michael Penix's top targets at Washington last year. But Hunter's put up had a nice year, 21 receptions, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns. And the big surprise has been Tron Grizel, a former walk-on, who has been a good possession receiver for them underneath. 12 receptions, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then I mentioned Taj Davis. He's still, been a nice contributor this year. 13 receptions, 141 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They haven't really used the tight end a lot this year. Jack Endries, their tight end, only 7 catches for 84 yards so far this year. They'll utilize the tight end, but this is a little more like a Texas Tech, like not Mike Leach Texas Tech, more of a Cliff Kingsbury Texas Tech type of air raid where they don't use the tight end a ton. Very reliant on the receivers. And then they're anchored on the offensive line by Sioape Vadakani, the right guard, was a preseason all-conference honorable mention. He's having a nice year. They've been battling some injuries of their own. But I mentioned Byron Cardwell, the Oregon transfer running back. He's been hurt this year. And their offensive lineman, Matthew Cindric, who was another all-conference honorable mention during the preseason, he's also been hurt. So they're dealing with some injuries right now. Their offensive line did not have a very good game against Washington. Washington really pinned their ears back and came after Cal and forced some turnovers.
So, by the way, that big right guard of theirs, he's a sophomore.
Yeah, those Samoan, those Islander kids,
mm-hmm.
They grow them big out there. In the
he's actually from Reno, Nevada. Played for Bishop Manogue, at Catholic high school out of Reno. But he's somebody to keep your. He's number 71.
I'm just talking about his lineage, not his.
Oh yeah, sure.
His alma mater. But in any case, moving on to the Cal defense. Peter Sermon, he's been Justin Wilcox's guy pretty much since he got to Berkeley in his 4th season. Cal's defense has been opportunistic this year. Forced 12 turnovers, 6 interceptions, 6 fumbles. They've definitely taken advantage of other teams' mistakes, and they're anchored by those 2 middle linebackers, Caleb Elam's Orr. He's having a nice year, 29 tackles, 4 pass defended, interception, a forced fumble. And then the DC's son, Jackson Sermon, he's filled up the stat sheet as well. But they're really anchored on their defense by their safety, Craig Woodson, who's been a contributor on this team basically for the last 3 years. He's been a starter, second team preseason All Pac-12. He definitely anchors that back end. They've got a nice group together with him, and they've given up some big games, but he's still a guy that you got to know where he is on the field at all times. And then moving on with the rest of the defense, Woodson's partner out there, Patrick McMorris, the other safety, he's definitely filling up the stat sheet as well. San Diego State transfer, 20 tackles, 2 pass defended, a forced fumble recovery. And then their corner, Noel Williams, he's been their ball hawk this year with 2 interceptions. So even though they've given up some big games this year, especially that Washington game, I mean, Washington just moved up and down the field at will, it seemed like. I mean, it seemed like there was always somebody open against that Cal defense. And, Roman Odunze, Washington's big receiver, it was so fast. He had a punt return for a touchdown. Cal got put in a real hole in that game, too, because it was 14-0 before Michael Penix and the offense even stepped on the field. I mean, they had a pick six at the first. Washington had a pick six during the first drive of the game, and then Odunze takes a punt back for a touchdown on the next after the next drive. So, Cal, really got themselves in a hole. So if you can start fast on this team and force them into some mistakes, you could be in a good position to win there on the road.
Noel Williams spent time at UNLV as well.
I thought his name sounded familiar. I don't know why. But yeah, I think ASU faced him 2 years ago.
Right.
So yeah, I thought his name sounded familiar. So our keys to the game this week presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a great nonprofit that builds beds for kids that don't have a bed. They build them from scratch. They're a great nonprofit, Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and they present our keys to the game. And for me, it's keep them guessing. Continue that unpredictable play calling on offense. You continue to feed Cam Scatteraboo and Elijah Badger in different ways. Get them out in the open field and just let them cook with with their natural ability. And you can definitely put some points on the board against this Cal defense that has shown themselves prone to giving up the big play. And pressure on defense, pressure the pocket. Pin your ears back. Let that pass rush get home. I don't know if Clayton Smith is going to play this week or not. I think he's still battling an injury. But ASU's had success blitzing this year in different ways, sending Roe Torrance off the edge, doing a lot of different things with their pass rush to generate some pressure. And, this quarterback, both the quarterbacks, to be honest, have shown themselves prone to making mistakes. And if you can, get some hands in their faces, get your hands up, tip some balls, just get after them and put them in some positions where they have to make some tough decisions. You could find yourself with some turnovers in this game.
So it sounds like you're really saying make them beat us with their arm, right? In this case.
I mean, they've had success running the ball this year, but ASU's gotten gashed in the running game a little bit, but what I'm saying is in obvious passing downs, pin your ears back, come after them with, send 7 or 8 guys and make the wide receivers have to go up one-on-one against our DBs. Make make them force Cal's quarterbacks to make some decisions, and hopefully some bad ones, and just get a little bit aggressive on defense against these guys, because the offensive line is decent, but they're not anything special, to be honest. And I just feel like with what I saw against Washington had a lot of success rushing the quarterback, and just force bad decisions with pressure that they put by their aggressiveness.
Yeah, so Washington kind of showed
ASU do something similar.
Yeah, the Huskies kind of showed us the way. That is, make him try to beat you with his arm, and he's going to do bad things. You can't tell me
ASU coaches haven't watched that film.
Right, but the fact that when he throws it away casually and got it pitched. That's
he had at least one throwaway that turned into an interception that I saw, and that's a problem when you don't throw the ball far enough away and it gets picked off.
You got to put some zip.
That's an issue.
Yeah, put something on it. All right, so mine are simple. Trenton's obviously he is capable of getting the ball up much quicker. So I just really think that our precise route running is really essential. Get open, let Trenton find you. And I just think you go think back to Washington and Colorado last year when he hit, and if you had our route running was the best it had been, I thought, in the whole season against with those two teams. That was the game that Colorado was obviously the game where Conyers got off, and
Right.
and we played the mismatch. I think we really took advantage of the mismatch. So on defense, I think I love the fact that we're starting to turn the ball over. We're putting pressure on. If we can get 2 turnovers in this game, I think we win. I think
And hopefully Conyers' endurance is back, and
is
hopefully
wind.
he can play some more snaps.
Yeah, he looked. I know Conyers real well. He looked a little pudgy, but that's okay. He had a week, but he even admitted, he says, "I got to get my condition. I got to get my wind back."
Yeah, and we talked about the turnover battle all year. I mean, the fact that ASU hasn't really been able to force a lot of turnovers on defense, and hey, when they forced that one against USC, their first one on the year, they turned around and turned it right into points, and they were off and running after that on offense. So. Yeah, I think the turnover battle, especially with a Cal offense that's been prone to the turnover, they've the 2 quarterbacks between them have thrown 6 interceptions this year. So if you can pin your ears back and get after them, you can absolutely win the turnover battle. So I don't think that's anything. Yeah, that's definitely something that they got to focus on.
Yep. There we go. Prediction time.
Yeah, our score predictions. We don't plan these ahead of time. I think we're just kind of on the same wavelength for what ASU needs to do offensively. Yeah, and then
maybe
I got them winning 31-23. I think 30 is kind of the magic number. I think first team to 30 probably wins this kind of game where both offenses. ASU's starting to get back up on the upswing. Cal's offense is kind of, I think, is the strength of their team, and I think that's got to be the key. Is getting 30 points. ASU can do that. I think they put themselves in a good chance to win, especially if they're forcing a couple turnovers.
I see a touchdown every quarter. If we go out and execute, that's how we get 28. And I'll look at the fact that our defense has been pretty darn solid. Has kept us around all year.
Oh yeah.
Playing top 25 caliber in the country still.
That's been the key to our success this year has been the defense though so far. I think, but hopefully that USC game kind of lit a fire under that offense and we'll get them to kind of catch up and we'll get on the same level.
The fact that we played USC with, how do I say it? We were playing with house money. It looked like that we were just playing free.
Nobody expected anything.
Playing free out there.
USC, yeah.
We still made some mistakes. There were some execution things, some timing things that were not good that I know they're going to get better at this week. So that's why I think they'll figure it out and get the win.
Did you say Cal was favored by
12?
What is that about? That's a big number for them for this game.
I don't understand it, but you know what? I don't think that the world believes in Trenton. I don't think the fact that they haven't seen much of them, and I think that really happened once it went. I think it was obvious that Pine was not going to play, so I think that's immediately like, okay, they'll start 2 starters down, right?
Right.
But I don't know. I have faith. I have a lot of faith in Trenton's ability to manage a game.
We either have the inside track or we're too close to see what everybody else does. I don't know. We'll see on Saturday. I mean, we don't have to wait very long. The game's in 15 hours, 16 hours. So
yeah, we're gonna.
We'll know for sure. So want to thank you all for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button. Please comment, like, all that good stuff.
Tell a friend.
YouTube. Yeah, and tune in tomorrow at noon, early kickoff from Strawberry Canyon on Pac-12 Network, where ASU takes on the Golden Bears at Berkeley. Don't expect much of a crowd.
It's not going well up there. They've been so.
But we say good night. Go Devils, the Road Devils, go Devils, forks up, dilly dilly, activate the Valley, and top the Teddy Bears.
Go Devils.